Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
I love starting the show and then just seeing nothing but let's fucking go. So that's the spirit that we need today. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed your pre-Mosconi Cup drama with the press conference that was. I got some pretty good guests coming on in that I'm going to bring in momentarily. Let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me and see me all right, because I'm in a different setup. I'm in Dallas. My boy's getting married, and but we got obligations and responsibilities here to do shows. So I'm pumped. I'm actually more excited today than I was the last like 6 whatever, and I'm going to be watching to come tomorrow. Into the lineups, we're going to dive into the press conference, dive on into strategies, all that good stuff. Milo says 3-1 USA. I think I agree with you, but we'll save it for the show. Let me know in the chat what you guys think is going to be the day one ending after the lineups are out. But in the meantime, I'm gonna start with one of my favorite guests, but he's when it comes to being decorated, he's on the bottom end of the totem pole today, and it's only because you're not a Hall of Famer, buddy. That's the only reason why I'm bringing you in first. Usually, you'd be a guy I'd bring in on the back end. You know what I mean?
I'm working on it, man. Okay, I just got a lot going on. I'm working on it.
Hall of Fame in the beard, though. Next up, you guys know this guy all too well, a Hall of Famer in his own right, Michael Panozzo of Billiards Digest. Real formal today, Mike, bringing you in like a guest.
Well, I always try to wear a collar.
There you go.
We Northerners.
Well, and this
you're
guy
all
doesn't
dressed
much.
Up. You're not wearing a tank top. That's dressed for you.
Well, fuck, it's cold here in Dallas, man. I was trying to pack, and I'm looking at the weather, and I wanted to pack nothing but, South Texas attire, and it was not to be. So, plus, I got to go get a tux. I'm getting dolled up this week. So, but I want to bring in.
I got to see this photo.
There will be photos on the internet, I'm sure, at some point. But let me bring in the other Hall of Famer, Mosconi Cup legend, multiple-time world champion. Darren, we might as well start with you since you're the last guy in. Give me your thoughts on how the press conference went today, my man.
Yeah, I mean, I just said off air about for the first 20 minutes, I was a little bit bored, to be honest. And I thought, maybe the Reyes Cups just took that little bit of sting out of it. Everyone was like really nice and nervous and just playing everything down. But then it all kicked off, didn't it? In the last 10 minutes. I don't know if it was some questions from the media or not. I can't quite remember. But then obviously Jason and Skylar got into it, and then Tyler and Jason, and then Josh had his say, and then Shane. So it was Billy. So it was getting interesting, and it's added a little bit of needle. You could see there was like it wasn't forced out of them to say what they was saying. That's what I felt anyway. So it definitely adds a bit of needle going into the first day tomorrow. And yeah, I think Jason won the press conference.
Always does. Mike, what do you say?
Yeah, I thought it was the same thing. I thought it was pretty tame for the first 20 minutes. I thought everybody said what they were supposed to say. And it looked like they were trying not to get, too animated and trying to just say, okay, we're here for business. And then once the lineups were announced, that's what Jason had to say, which I would have had the over on this for 100% sure, was he was going to say he knew exactly what the U.S. was doing, because he always says he knows the line. And then he went and got into the whole, 4-0 and start the ball rolling that way. So that it got a little entertaining, got a little off the rails, a little off point, but at least it got the animosity juices flowing, which is good.
What do you say, Ray?
I was expecting, the inevitable Jason chiming in and starting to try and play mind games. I was actually surprised it took him that long to Darren's point. It was like, wow, he's being so polite and just, respectful, and like kind of keeping it toned down. And then I guess just, maybe his coffee kicked in or whatever. And so I think if I'm Team USA, I am disappointed with how they responded to that. I think Jason's a guy who runs on ammunition, and the more you play the game on his terms, you're handing bullets to a machine gun that's ready to fire at rapid pace. So you have to be professional there and not take the bite. He's laying out bait. He's wanting for you to bite, and once you bite, he's going to twist and play the game. And no matter what, even if you feel like you win that exchange, you're playing his game, and that's a psychological ploy. And now he's pulling you into his arena. You don't want to do that. You literally ignore him. Just leave him alone. I think the response from Billy there, Lucas is a great player. He's going to be a great talent, and any team that he gets on is going to be better for him being on there. I know he'll have more opportunities. I'm grateful to be here and excited to be part of my team and get the opportunity to compete. End of story. Done. Like, don't just be professionals, keep it above board, and undermine the leg sweep, because if not, then you get on the ground with somebody who's a mental jiu-jitsu master. He wants to pull and pluck and pick at scabs and sow dissension, and nothing that you can do is going to be net positive for you. So you just got to let it go and not fall for the bait, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it was to be expected from Jay. I didn't get to watch, but I saw like the clips as I got off the flight, and so I was not surprised that he went there. I think like he needs to stir up those emotions from him, and the difference is between the Americans and the Europeans is like Jason will be the one to take on all that in terms of getting into that circus, but he's got 4 guys behind him that can all play really well. Whereas the Americans, any little distraction, given the fact that their game is subpar compared to the Europeans, just massively favors into the Europeans. The Billy conversation I thought was really surprising. Him calling out Lucas for a big set was a bit cringe, especially given the fact that I know for sure Oscar wanted to play him a big set after last year, which did not end up happening. And then of course Sky went on the record and saying, "Oh well, there's no reason to play a big set because the Mosconi Cup's race to 5 and blah, blah, blah." So it just kind of contradicts that whole spirit. But yeah, I mean, look, Jason's one to stir the pot, and Emily loves to see those guys stir the pot, especially given how boring most of those guys are in general, So any little bit of cracks in the armor is going to be a +1 for the Europeans. And with Jason, like, even if he's thinking about it and it's in the chamber, it's like he's so natural at it. He's just a natural shit talker, natural shit stirrer, and it doesn't go and mentally pull him one way or the other. Where the other guys, it's like, all right, little E for effort kind of deal. Like you got a pat on the back, Tyler. Good job, buddy. That kind of deal. So, what were some of your other takeaways, Mike, from the press conference?
I thought on the flip side of that, although the U.S. guys really just, and we talked about it yesterday. I wanted to go into the press conference, give one-word answers, and get the hell out of there. Yeah. Which they were doing well at for a while, because I didn't want them to fall into the game. But I think that when Jason opened himself up for the whole Josh conversation, it kind of, he still kind of won that end of the conversation, but Josh didn't.
He was going around in circles a little bit.
Josh was kind of, he looked like he wasn't buying whatever anybody was trying to sell. And as Jenny Ann even spoke about it here, people were talking about Josh like he wasn't even in the room. So, they got a little bit maybe of, stroking his back at the Airbnb today to get back into believing that they really do like him. So, we'll see what happens with that. But I thought that was kind of, that was something that was waiting to be said that probably wouldn't have been said had Jason not, gone till.
Darren, what's your take on that relationship? You know both guys pretty well. Obviously, you know Jay really well and Josh. How do you think that relationship is now, especially given what happened last year and then, them spending the last 2 weeks together?
Yeah, I think my experience between the two of them, they have a good relationship. I mean, Josh has stayed at Jason's house in the past. So, yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware, that they have a good relationship. Obviously, it was a bit awkward last year with all the politics going on. And I understand a bit of the frustration from let's say Jason and the guys with Josh going to play the 8 ball and everything else. and obviously supporting the WPA events when obviously apparently they was all going to stick behind the WNT. But obviously everyone's situation is different. So, yeah, I mean, I think it got out of hand big time anyway last year. And it created a divide between the players for a while. I think that divide is starting to close. And it looks like the players are all getting on really well again. But you could feel a bit of animosity last year, a little bit of ill feeling between most of the players, not just Josh and Jason. But yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware, like Jason and Josh get on really well, and I know Jason. Obviously, he thinks Josh is the best player in the world, so he'll be looking to Josh this week to be his main man, really.
Yeah, I think even me and Mike, whenever we spoke with Jason, following like post Reyes Cup, that was the first thing that Jason was interested in. Am I going to get that kid on my team? He knows the value of him, and despite the awkward situation, and I get protecting, the guaranteed check and covering your own ass and all those things. It was good for Tyler for bringing it up, but it's like that's really the only string you can go and draw on. And the problem is that they're playing at home. And the problem is they've been playing together for the last 2 weeks. And then, by the way, they're miles ahead of you, like in every single category individually, and know how to gel together. So, yeah, I'm not too sure. Ray, what say you on that whole Josh conversation?
I mean, whenever you get into these tactics of discuss, like trying to pull, like you have to have leverage. And right now, Team USA doesn't have any leverage. So it's a zero-sum game for them. At best, they break even, but really it's not worth the mental energy and the risk of firing them up and getting that. Like again, Jason is a switch looking for ignition. You don't want to give him anything to get him started. That's why, like in the Reyes Cup, he didn't play well, and it was why they were just all quiet and polite, and like they're just executing. They just go out there and just play pool, and they didn't get into any of the extracurriculars, and he didn't look super jazzed or fired up in the first iteration of that. And I think it's an example of if you just handle business and take care of your stuff, let him try and find things that motivate himself, to give him that, don't just give him free barrels to get going. And so the Josh thing, I mean, that's up to them to deal with, but I think, you can always try and play that game and say, oh, well, you're not even the best left-handed player on your team, or, whatever you want, like that kind of stuff, if you want to say it. Like you can say that stuff, but, again, you got to know who your customer is. Like, is he going to find something in that motivates him and gets him fired up? Like, I don't know. That's up to you to decide.
Yeah. Pissing off Josh is usually doesn't end well for the opposition.
Yeah.
Just typically. So I would have tried to stay away from that if I was Tyler anyway.
Yeah, Dennis Searing is like one of the best cue makers. He was a great player back when he was playing. He always says, if I've got a bear asleep, I'm going to just put a blanket over him, give him some cookies, maybe some milk, keep him real comfy. You know what I mean? You don't want to wake up and get him.
It's a bit like Strickland back in the day, isn't it? You just don't try and upset him.
Yeah, because Earl was another one of those guys who very rare type of person, but thrived off the volatility. He was looking for it. He would do it himself. He'd just find something to make him go off, and he'd run on fuel with that. So,
yeah.
Darren, what's going on tonight, and how have the last few days gone when you're getting a rookie ready, and how are you mentally trying to like not overcoach them, but at the same time like trying to set proper expectations on not just what to do, but what they can expect out there?
Yeah, I think Jason brought it up in the press conference. I mean, if it was rookies of, let's say, 10, 15 years ago, like Jason said today, where we only had like 3 or 4 tournaments a year where you was on the big stage, then yeah, I think the rookie was a big thing back in the day. But I think these days there's that many tournaments now, and they're playing in front of massive crowds all the time, especially in Asia and places like that, US Open. So they're sort of used to it, really. It gives them a little taste for it. So I don't really look at them as rookies anymore. I just think the first team match, they're going to be very, very nervous, obviously. And then, obviously, once they play their first doubles match, which they will play, then I think that they settle down nicely. And it'd just be business as normal. But the key for them is to just handle the the noise. That's the biggest thing. Is just there's a lot of noise while you're actually shooting, so that they're not used to that. So that's going to be the biggest culture change really for them. But once after they get the first day out of the way, I think they'll be more than fine. I think Jason, I think he's been very smart. They've been together 2 weeks, so that they'll have been working a lot on stuff like that, working on this on the shot clock. Obviously, a lot of team bonding, helping each other and getting to know each other really well, and yeah, just make them feel really comfortable. And but at the end of the day, they're world-class players, so they don't really need coaching. They just need leading in the right way and guidance. And I'm pretty sure that's what Jason and Joshua and David have been working on the most with those two guys. But they've been around quite a while now, especially Peages. So I think they'll be fine. I think after the first team match, then they'll be ready for their doubles. And I think when I first saw the team sheet, I was a little bit surprised. But when I thought about it, I thought it's actually quite a good move from both teams, their lineup for the first day.
Yeah. I was shocked for the European lineups, if I'm being honest with you. I love the American lineups. We're going to dive into that. I guess we might as well. What better time than now? Obviously, the team matchup, boys, I don't really have any which way to call that personally. It's such a gaffy thing. I enjoy it personally because I love seeing the different dynamic, but it's so hard to peg it whether it's going to go this way or that way. I mean, no, you may not even get a chance to hit a ball and be down. May lose 2 racks. Just depending on how the break is or whatever. So, Mike, what say you on the team match?
Well, the team match is just it's a total crapshoot. You can go and, like you said, not even shoot. Or you can break and scratch and not shoot. There's a million things that can go, wrong for the team that loses. The one thing that I will say relative to the lineup for the whole day is that I don't think the team match, looking at 2 rookies like that, I don't think the team match gets them ready. Like I said, they may not get out of their chair. Now they're sitting around for 2 more matches before they even get to play. Now they're under the gun. And day one is important, and they get through the butterfly. But let's say you're Pius or you're Moritz, and you go through a team match and you shoot once in 2 games and lose both games. And then you go into the doubles match and you don't play all that well. Now you got to sleep on it until tomorrow. I think that you might feel like you got used to the crowd a little bit, but are you that confident in your game going into game 2? You got like 3 chances to shoot and didn't do it. Those are the things that I think kind of can play into a player's head early in the event. If they don't get a lot of opportunities, because you get a lot of opportunities in this format, period. And so when you're pushing to show your value and to show your worth, and you don't come through early, does it put a seed of doubt in your Darren? I mean, does it play on a player like that?
It can do, yeah. But even if they don't really get to shoot in the team match, at least they're out in the arena and they get a feel for the atmosphere. You're close to the table, so it's like being at the side of a football pitch. So at least you get a feel for it. I know, obviously, you want to be on the table and get your hand on the table, but at least they're out there and they get a feel for it. So yeah, I mean, but it's the same for all the players, really. I mean, that first team match, it's hard to explain. I mean, the pressure and the nerves is incredible. You never feel anything like it. It's like you're playing with someone else's arm. But when you get into the doubles, you've got that partner to help you, and you're helping each other, so you feel more comfortable. So I do like what he's done. I wasn't sure at first, but I like what both teams have done. I think America had to go really, really strong, and I think they've done that. And Jason's found the balance, I think. But the big thing for me is that Peages and Moritz are really good friends, so they spend a lot of time together. So and they're putting them on last. So it's not the end of the world. It's not like they're throwing them out there for the first doubles. So it took a little bit of a gamble, but I think it's a good gamble from Jason. Yeah, I like both lineups. I think the first day is going to be very even, I think.
I think it's a big gamble by Jason personally, especially if it can go and slide, and given how top heavy the Americans are personally. I want to jump on into the first doubles right off the bat, though. Ray, David and Filler against Shane and SVB. Give me your thoughts on these 4 matching up against one another.
Well, Shane and Federer together is our highest combined Fargo matchup on paper. So it's interesting that today's a doubles day, so I think it's a little bit imbalanced when you think about it. It's after the team match, you have 2 doubles matches and 1 single. So I would call it a doubles day focus. And so he went. Skyler went with his strongest pair and his weakest pair. And because Billy and Tyler are probably our weakest doubles pair on Fargo paper as well. Yeah. And if I had ball in hand on putting my weakest pair against another match, I'd want them against Pijus and Moritz. Just they're the least experienced players in this format, and Tyler and Billy know each other at least, and they'd have a chance to I think go up. It could be a lot worse. Could be them against like Shaw and Filler or something, in which case it would be really, really brutal and really tough to win. So the fact that I get a chance to crack the 2 rookies with my worst pair on paper is I think very good for the Americans. Leading with our strongest pair, Shane and Federer. I mean, you have 2 world-class generational level players playing against one another, and you have David and Josh. I mean, Josh is an unbelievable doubles player. He's going to take care of. I mean, he made a regional league player look great, and he won a World Cup with him. You know what I mean? So he's obviously very, very talented. And David Alcady is as steady as they come, very experienced, and has been playing very well. So it's not necessarily a write-off match of any kind, but it's tough for me whenever I think about like the nationality thing. And so this is where I think Europe has a more difficult challenge in bridging the gap because you have somebody who is Spanish versus somebody who's German, right? And so there's cultural nuances that are way different. We kind of have that too, I guess, now with Federer and Shane, because Federer being Russian origin. So it's just interesting, like to see, but Federer listens to country music. So
he's more American than Mike at this point.
So it's like he's kind of.
What does Shane listen to?
That's a good question. Maybe nothing. Maybe he doesn't listen to. Yeah.
What do you say, Mike?
It's an interesting matchup. I mean, we talk about it like here's our 2 best players, and you've got Dave. Yeah, I look at this as favoring Europe. I think Josh is Josh. Josh can fire his way through anything. And David is the consummate team player, role player, perfect teammate, doubles partner with anybody. He can, he's kind of, we talked about yesterday, a little bit of that Albin type fit into the team. So you have those against 2 highly decorated players who are historic underachievers in the Mosconi Cup. So there's a little doubt in both Federer and Shane's heads going into this match, I would think, because neither one of them has performed well on this stage. And now they know they're coming out there expected to win for sure because they're our highest rated doubles team. I think, I don't know. I think it works backwards to me, and it actually favors Josh and David.
I'm also surprised seeing Shane go up so early. He's typically, historically, a guy who likes to play later in the evening.
But maybe that's a good thing, though, because it hasn't really worked out for him in the past.
No.
Because he usually plays the best player from Europe in the singles or whatever. But so I think it's good for him to get out there. So that tells me that he's feeling good. He's ready. He wants to go out there and play. Obviously, I think on paper, even though they haven't got the best record, I think I have to put those 2 as slight favourites in that doubles. And I've got a feeling that they're going to play good together. I think the singles... In
Federer and Shane, you mean?
Yeah, I think Federer and Shane have got the edge there, in my mind anyway. Yeah. And then I think...
It would be huge.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the first team match is massive, really, when you think about it. That first team match is huge. I think whoever wins the first team match will probably win the first doubles.
I think the first doubles is huge if Shane and Federer play well together.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I think that would be huge for the team, whether they win the team match or not. Come out and play really well together. both of them, not one bailing the other one out, both of them playing well together in that first doubles match, and they win, I think that would be huge for the whole team.
And I think
Yeah,
Shane
I
plays really
can
well.
see why he's done it. I mean, America have got to get off to a good start. There's no doubt
do.
about it. So
Yeah.
I think with what they've done with their first 2 matches after the team match is perfect. And then for me, the last match is 50-50 because you got the 2 weakest players on paper for USA and the 2 rookies for Europe. So I think it could be 4-0 tomorrow to either side.
It could be.
Or it could be 2-2.
It's a
3-1.
massive first doubles for me,
Maybe
because
3-1.
just given how mental that Federer and Shane can both be. They can be trendsetters in a negative way in terms of their their output, right? The way that their optics and the way that they go and carry themselves and their body language. And listen, if Federer goes and loses in that matchup, I'm okay with it, because I'm still going to rely on him. I still know what a grinder he is. I still know what a monster he is. I know how much he's proven out there. Whereas if the Americans go and lose, I'm not so sure they can go and recover. And then thinking about how it plays out on the back end, given the fact that your 2 weakest guys are on the back end, that's where it can get a little dicey. But it can also swing the pendulum the other way in terms of getting the Americans fired up following that first doubles matchup. The Sky and Jason, for me, is that being the first singles is a little tough because I think it's real 50-50. Jason always plays well out there, but Sky's playing well right now. Jason, although he can go and shoulder a lot, I feel like emotionally he can kind of maybe take it on too much and get too fired up and too amped up and too involved in the moment. So see how that plays out in their singles. But yeah, I think that first doubles for me is massive. I don't care like if it's whatever it may be, 1-0 after the team at any direction. For me, I think it's a must win for the Americans in that spot, just given how the other guys are going to be looking at it and have their hopes on it, and just their emotions of it all. But going over to match number 2, Darren, Shaw and Sky, both captains matching up early on. What do you think about that?
Well, just looking at the results from last year, Jason beat him 5-0. So yeah,
Really?
but I know Skylar's beat him in the past as well. So yeah, I mean, you just never know, do you? But I mean, Jason just loves that arena. I think the home advantage is huge for Team Europe, and that's why it swings it in my favour for Team Europe. I mean, that home crowd's just mental. And it does make a big difference. So I do like Jason in the match, but you never know. I mean, Skylar can definitely win. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm thinking if that first team match is huge, I think if Europe win it, then I'd worry a little bit for USA. But I do like Jason in the first singles. Yeah, probably like 5-3 or something.
Are you surprised given like how Shane kind of checks out at certain points throughout the Mosconi Cup, and even Federer for that matter, like not performing over the last few years, like given how well that they do individually?
Yeah, I mean, in Shane's defense over the years, he always was. We knew where he was going to play, so obviously when I could play, I would match up with him, and then after me it was Jason, and then it was Filler. So to be fair to him, he's not had it easy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then obviously we always raised our game against him because whenever I played Shane, I never felt the pressure. I enjoyed playing against him. I looked at it as a challenge because he was my biggest rival when I was doing well. So yeah, I just enjoyed playing him, and he brought the best out of me. And I'm pretty sure it's the same for Jason and Joshua and them guys as well. So he's been a bit unlucky on that side of things. Plus, he's played on teams what hasn't helped him, I don't think, in the past. But I do feel like this team's a little bit different this time. I have got a good feeling that the Americans will be more together this year. Whether they've got enough to still take Europe down is a different thing. But yeah, I think Shane looks happier to be there this year than he has done in the previous year. So I'm looking for him to play well.
What do you say, Ray?
Yeah, I think Shane plays probably his best when he setting when he feels like there's a legitimate chance to win, and when he's surrounded by quality players. And so having Federer on his side to start makes sense because they can they can not have to fade potentially the baggage of being down a certain amount, and then the temptation to check out is there. And if he can help set the tone and be a front runner, then maybe you start getting the higher versions of Shane. Like, we had a version of him a couple years ago where he played Josh in the last time they played the Mosconi Cup, and he just squashed him. I think he 5-0'd him. And that's obviously not a common thing between Shane and Josh, but he's capable. Obviously, he's a generational player. So I think it's an important match. I think with Sky, he starts well, has a potential to be a quick starter. And I think his style of play is really good for Mosconi, which is why he's played so well in this format. So I'm looking for him to hopefully lead out in the team match and kind of set the tone early on as the tip of the spear. And then in that match with Jason, he's got, an opportunity to really, hurt Team Europe and put the rookies in a position with a lot of pressure on their shoulders. I think it's to Mike's point earlier, it's a gamble. It's a little bit of a volatile situation to where, they might be in a position where they have to score a point to save the session. The opportunity is there. So every match, I think Team USA early, those first 2 or 3 matches, they should look at as an opportunity to put a ton of heat on those guys. And then if they can do that and win the session up 3-1 or maybe more, they can do that. Put those rookies in a negative position early. Now we get to see, Team Europe kind of be in a position where they haven't been, which is, having the pressure on them. Because that UK crowd, as loud as they are, they're also a bit volatile. They will turn on Team Europe as well. I think the US fans are more loyal and they'll stick to their guns. They're not going to try and eat up their own guys. But I've seen some of the European fans, they'll turn on their guys, soon if they're not performing up to snuff. So you got to try and take away the crowd as much as you can.
Yeah, I think the Americans are more mentally weaker and can tilt one way or the other. Mike, what say you on that matchup, Mike? Yeah.
Sky and Jason. It started for the first day. The 2 captains who went after each other this afternoon, and so there's going to be it's going to be an intense match. I think each one of them thinks it's really critical for their team, for them to back up their team with what they said. They can't just talk the talk. They got to go walk the walk. And so I think they're both going to feel a lot of heat, put a lot of heat on themselves to win that match. I think they both think that it's an important match. Whereas they're not even relevant to them, as they're the captains and they stuck their chins out there and they went after each other. And so who's going to win that first round is, the winner is going to think that it's really, important. So.
See, everything you just said makes me favor Jason just that much more, because when there's expectations for Jason typically steps up. And when there's expectations for Sky can typically, I don't want to say disappear, but I always see him overperform.
We've seen Jason overamp too.
Sure, yeah, but I mean, at worst, you're stuck 2-0. At worst, you're stuck 2-0 going into that matchup. If you're Jason, you're going to have the crowd on your side, so you got the 6th man there that's going to be more in your favor in that regard. Everything you're saying there, man, I don't know, man. I think you just convinced me that Jay is going to go and take off that singles. I think he steps up for big moments. I think he just lives and thrives in alley pally. And even though he can get high or low, I think David will kind of be that balancing act for him as well, Mike.
I just think that I would worry about just singles match more. I think he's more dangerous if this would have been in the U.S. than in Europe. I think in the U.S. he comes out as the bad guy. Everybody's rooting for Sky. Now Jason's really.
He's got a lot of fans in the U.S. Every Mosconi Cup. We saw that in Orlando. They're always cheering for Jay.
Yeah, he has ammunition. He has volatility.
I think, when it gets really crazy in alley pally, I think sometimes Jason can get caught up in it, and that's if I was a U.S. fan, that's what I would be hoping for. So it's it'll be a fun match either way. I mean, there's going to be you're going to be able to see it on their faces the minute they walk out there that they're up for a serious race to find.
The first day is the hardest because you're getting used to the table, the conditions, the atmosphere, the pressure, the nerves. So there's going to be mistakes from both players and both teams. So it's whoever holds themselves together the best on the first day and get a little bit of luck. So I think tomorrow we're going to see, especially with the Jason and Skylar. I'm really looking forward to that match because there's going to be a bit of tension between them now. So that adds a bit of spice. So I'm excited to see that match and see how that goes. And one of them will definitely dog it. That's for sure.
I love the prediction. No, I couldn't agree with you more. And the one thing I love about them also is that they're showmen. You know, like they play up to the moment, they play up to the crowd, they play up to the atmosphere and environment. They usually go and play to the cameras really well in their own right. But I love the dog in it comment for sure. How tough is it to go from a practice room where you're trying to create slick conditions, waxing the ball, the heater under the table, versus going out there and actually playing on TV table for the first time?
Yeah,
even if you've been there before.
Yeah, it's difficult, really. It's just you just work on your muscle memory. So, like when the balls are sliding off the rail, when you're kicking, for example, you sort of know because you played on the table before. So you sort of guess like how much it's going to slide. So it might be a ball and a half to its natural angle. So little things like that, you sort of have it in your head before you even go out there and play a shot. And then after that's what I'm saying. Like the first day is about getting you get a feel for the speed of the tables. The number one thing, the reaction of the cue ball, because it's completely different to the practice table. I mean, you can silicone the balls up as much as you want and all that stuff, but it helps a little bit. But there's no substitute for when you get out there. And when you watch it on TV, you don't really see it, and you try to explain to people at home like the difference. It's just massive. Like you just touch the cue ball and it comes back. So you don't even need to hit low on the cue ball to get it to come back. You can just hit middle of the cue ball. It's going to come back a few inches. So all those little things, it's very easy to lose the cue ball. And I've always said like there's some players what play great on TV, and there's some players what play great away from TV, and vice versa. And it's because maybe you don't have the right stroke for TV. And then you've got other players what might hit the ball too hard. So on like a played in table, that's going to suit them. So you have to sort of tone down your stroke a little bit. Like for example, someone like Chris Mellon, it'd be easy for him to decel because of his long stroke. So it's very easy. It's very easy to make cue ball mistakes on that table out there. So it's going to be interesting the first day, and that's what the guys will be. They'll be doing a lot of talking about how the table's playing, and they'll all be watching, especially the first day, even in the practice room. They'll all be watching very closely how the table's playing because that's the key. And then after the first day, that they'll have meetings, discuss how the table's breaking, discuss how it's reacting off the rails and all that stuff. And then day two, that's when usually the level starts to rise. Then.
Is there any kind of like if you make a mistake or you dog it or you're overrunning position bad, like how hard is it to let that go between the years, Darren? Even though you're a world-class player and a world champion and all these things, it's like that the whole pool world is watching and ready to go and have an opinion one way or the other.
Yeah, but the big thing with the Mosconi, we've been raced to 5. You don't have time to think like that, and you shouldn't think that way because even if you fall 0 down, you can still win. Where if you're playing singles in individual events, then it's I mean little things can affect you, but we always had a rule whenever you come back to the team room when you lose, you don't bring that negativity into the team room. So that's the key, is that you stay upbeat all the time, no matter what, and give the next guy going out that positive energy. And that's the secret, really, is to make sure that even you might be struggling eternally, just don't show it to the other players and give them that bad vibe when you go out there. And I actually did it.
You were an emotional guy, though, Darren. You were a guy who was fired up.
Yeah, I was just going to, I think it was around 2011, and I went back to the team room. I'd just lost to Johnny Archer, and I basically threw my case across the room in the practice room. And like Niels was going out for the next match, and he was like in shock because I like give it a good throw. And then straight after I realised, I thought that was a stupid thing to do. You know what I mean? So I apologised to Niels and everything else. And after that, I never did anything like that ever again, because I thought that's just that's like being selfish, really. And so you've got to learn from those type of mistakes. And there's other players that have done that also. But that's why it's very important to stay positive, because it can turn very quickly. So you know that one or two guys are going to struggle. But it's up to the other guys to just keep them like lifted up, because even if those guys only win 1 point, it can make a huge difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the good thing now is that they're all more or less playing the same amount of matches. Where the years gone by, it was very top heavy, so only 2 or 3 guys combined it was possible to win the MVP. Where now it's pretty wide open. So everyone gets to play a singles. Everyone more or less plays the same amount of doubles matches. So the format's great. Everyone's going to be involved. So there's nowhere to hide now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, all eyes for me are going to be towards the tail end, and I think that was a lot of shock for a lot of fans as they saw the lineups get announced. Me and Mike were talking yesterday during our show, and I thought, I like the idea of trying to protect Pius in this spot, send him out there with a Jason type guy, or even a filler, to kind of keep him under his wing and keep him guide a little bit. Ray, what are your thoughts on sending Pius out with Moritz? I know they're boys and all, but in that last doubles, but for them, their first time playing out there in the Mosconi Cup is going to be with another rookie.
Yeah, I mean, Moritz, he did play well in the doubles with Josh in the World Cup the year they played. I think they made a final. And so, but he had a lot of rapport with Josh, and Josh, he's like, the German national hero basically at this point for this young generation. And so I'm sure Moritz was willing to just do whatever Josh wanted, and they worked very well together. But at the Reyes, I didn't see Moritz play well. I saw him struggle. I saw him step on other players' toes. It was a little bit disjointed. And so, to your point, I would want to just take care of these assets that I have. If they're confident in striking the ball well and really moving forward, then they're very dangerous players. Moritz has had a good season. Pius has had a good season, better than Jason. But in this particular environment, you want to defend against your vulnerabilities as much as you can. And so I think in this instance, they're exposing their vulnerabilities a bit. And so it's a bit of a gamble, and it could be a positive. It could be a booming effect if like your most vulnerable guy goes out there and wins a match for you. This pairing wins a match. Then that can be really good for them and set them down the path where now they're clicking with the more experienced players and striking and attacking in their singles and doing, and bolstering and kind of rising. But if not, it could deflate them, and it might take longer now to bring them back into the fold, and they don't have the pedigree or the experience yet to say they're going to bounce back quick and be ready to just lock in again and give you their best from the jump. Whereas somebody like Josh might just blow it, whatever, you know what I mean? I don't care. And then go out there and just play perfect. David as well is somebody that you would expect to have that short-term memory and go out there and execute. So I would be, from a coaching standpoint, avoiding that as much as I could. And I think if I'm a USA captain or team member, then I'm saying I'm glad that I have Billy and Tyler playing that matchup against Pius and Moritz. That's what I would want if I could ball in hand pick it out of all the possible matches against Team Europe. So they gave me a gift, and I'd be talking like that to my guys and saying, hey, go out there and open this Christmas present for us. Okay. So
yeah, I think it works for both teams, though. I think
I was just going to say the same thing, Darren.
If they could unpick to play against their guys, it would be Skylar and Tyler and Billy.
Yeah.
So I think that's a 50-50, me.
What do you say, Mike?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean, it's good for both of them. It's it sets them both up. I think both teams will go into that feeling like, confident. We got a good match. I think both of the pairings are going to go in feeling that way. Moritz and Pius have good rapport together, good friendship together. I don't know if they play together often. They certainly know each other's games and have practiced together a lot, things like that. So I think they'll be ready. And Billy and Tyler, they played together enough. So I think it's kind of a good setup for both of them in this situation. We'll just see who comes out there. I want to know what the over-under is in this match on how many times Jason goes out to tell Pius and Moritz what to shoot.
What do you? Well, in a
Yeah,
race,
that needs to
in
stop.
a,
Depends
in
on
a
the
race to
score.
five, in a race
Depends
to
on the
five,
score.
what do you think, Mike? No, look,
Depends on
I think I agree with Darren. I think it's more like you can look at it as the glass half full, depending on which lens you're looking at it. Because if
Yeah.
I'm P.S. Moritz, although I'm a liability or I'm more vulnerable and all these things, and all those things are fair, they're also the most decorated. And if I'm P.S. Moritz, the first guys that I want to go out there and play are going to be Billy and Tyler, because them to me, they're the weakest two guys on Team USA. So whether individually or on the Mosconi Cup or whatever, like I'm perfectly fine with going out there. And if you lose, you only lost. I mean, it's your first doubles. You can chalk it up to that. But if you win, and especially given how emotional Billy can be, how Tyler can kind of wear his emotions on his face at times, I like that idea. I like it being able to sit there with them overnight, following that, and not for nothing, but listen, if you're Billy and Tyler, and if you lose, there's not a lot of guys who are going to be able to pick you up, because they're usually the guys to kind of do the picking up. They're usually the guys in the locker room to lift everybody else. Where I feel like with Pius and Moritz, they got Jay there, they got Josh there, they got David there, they got leaders there who know what they're doing. No matter the hole that they'll be in, the micromanaging part, like I'm not in love with it. I never will be. I think Moritz showed his worth to me at certain spots in the Reyes Cup, as far as how he'll handle it out there under a single table, bright lights, all that good stuff. But the doubles with Federer was a big question mark. So seeing him go out there and have chemistry in the doubles is going to be interesting, because it wasn't just like the talking back and forth. It was also like constantly telling him how much time he had left on the shot, like too much. You know what I mean? Like too much information, too much on his plate. But I think that they got a lot of upside in that doubles, because if PS and Moritz go out there and get the W, it just sits with the Americans overnight. But although I think in the overall, I think Jason played more gamble, and I think Sky played it a lot smarter. I think I'm going to go with the rookies there in this spot. But obviously Tyler and Billy, they got a point last year.
Yeah, they did. They played well. They actually played a good doubles match together last year.
They did. It was consequential.
So, if they kind of try to ride that momentum, that memory, it shoots at the start of the match. So and I think as far as which team goes to bed with something hanging over their head, I think it depends on how the match goes. If one team wins because the other team was playing three cushion, then the team that loses is going to have tough time sleeping. If it's a good match and both teams played pretty well, then I think they can both still go back. It's the first day. They're not going to be behind very far, and they can go back with, still getting ready for the next day.
Darren, how much are guys like it and leaders on the team going and paying attention to the crowd when you have a rookie up? Like if you have a guy who maybe you have some question marks about, like how focused are you on what that crowd's doing if you're sitting in the chair, like as far as them getting too high or too low, maybe putting too much pressure on your rookies?
What you mean, the players or the crowd?
Yeah, like Jason, like for example, like because Jason kind of be like an orchestra leader out there. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm hoping that they've addressed this situation from the Reyes Cup, because that was a joke. And yeah, I think too much talking is no good between the players. There's no need. They're world-class players. When the balls are open, just let them play. Even most of the safety shots, 9 times out of 10, they're going to play the right shot. So if they need help, they're going to ask for help. And then obviously the crowd, all that stuff, if obviously one's orchestrating all that stuff, then it's up to them to speak about it before they go out there and say, look, I don't want I don't want all the attention, all that stuff. And there's some players what don't like the players coming out and giving them like high fives after every match.
Right.
Also,
Kachi comes to mind.
I'm not a huge fan of that unless it's the right situation or the players like it, then it's different. It never really bothered me, but I know there were some players like Ralph, for example. I don't think he really wants that. You know what I mean? Even Anil's fine. They want to stay in their zone. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Nick Vandenberg was another. Yeah. So and then probably Johnny Arch was like that. Really. Il Strickland, for example. So I think some players like it, like Jason, Filler, Skyler, probably Billy. they like that hype. They like that talking, everything else, talking to the crowd, all that stuff, getting involved with everything. But I think Moritz and Pijus are very unassuming characters. I think they like to stay in their bubble. So it'll be interesting to see what happens really, and whether they've addressed it all over these past couple of weeks. Because the Reyes Cup was a mess, to be honest.
Shit show. Absolutely.
It was last year too. It was the same way the first year at the Reyes Cup.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
it was just way to 3 people in the arena pointing at different parts of the table to the guy who's trying to play, and they got 30, a minute between racks.
Yeah, then like it looks like it's you're sort of like belittling the players a little bit, or like disrespecting them a little bit. Because at the end of the day, there isn't much between any of them. You know what I mean? When it comes to the knowledge of the game, I mean, it's just it's just fine margins. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously the experience counts. So it's like me back in the old days. If I needed a bit of help, I'd probably ask Ralph Suke, right? Same with the American team. You probably ask Johnny Archer. So, and it's the same situation now, isn't it? I mean, obviously the Americans have probably asked Fedor or Shane, and then obviously the European team should be probably David or Joshua, really, in my opinion, because their knowledge of the game is great. You know what I mean? So I think all this should be planned out before they even go out there, really.
Yeah.
I think, it was, even though they're rookies, their decision making and execution are what got them on the team in the first place. And they were vulnerable in their own right as individuals going out there and getting majors underneath their belt. You know what I mean? And they were able to go and swim in that water. And I get the Mosconi Cup's a completely different animal, but they seem like it wasn't like they're just a flash in the pan. There's been this rise with both these guys. We've seen it with Pius coming out and going deep in multiple events, Moritz as well over the last 24 months. So like, it's not like he's just been thrown into the deep end all of a sudden, in my opinion anyway, although the Mosconi Cup is different, obviously. But Darren, give me your score line for day number 1. How do you think it ends? And then I want to ask you a follow-up question after that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 2-2 the first day. I think last year was 3-2 to Europe. Obviously, we're only playing 4 matches tomorrow. I think the first couple of days is going to be tight. So I think it'll be 2-2 the first day.
Ray?
I think if I'm Team USA, I want them to remember that like last year they were one decision away from being ahead at the end of was it the first day or the second day with Sky and Federer playing together, and then they would have had Shane.
That would have made it 5. That would have made it 5-5 at the end of the second day.
Yeah, and so that was a consequential match.
Yeah, it's massive.
It set the tone for the rest of the cup, and it was really a downhill slide from there. So for me, I just want them to lock in on an identity when they go out there, and I just keep thinking about this visual of like a pit bull. When a pit bull grabs hold of something, it just won't let it go. It's like I want Team Europe to have to pry my jaws open and take away the 9-ball from me every inning that I get to the table. And I think the only mistake that they've really made is being a little bit too loosey with certain shot selections and certain plays over the last few years. And it costs them dearly because you're taking coin flips while Team Europe is collecting 70-80% easy chances. So I understand the desire to want to take a stab at winning the advantage and getting ahead. But if it doesn't pan out, you have to be patient. And so for me, America is known for being the home of one pocket. You know what I mean? So I would much rather them treat every inning like a one pocket game where you're really protecting the position and taking care of it and running out when you need to. Obviously, if you can run 8 and out and get out, that's great. That's a good aggressive one pocket. And I think Sky and Shane and Federer all have that gear, that approach where every ball really matters, and they've exhibited that, especially in the Derby City in the one pocket. But I've never seen it translate to the Mosconi Cup as of yet. So I think they just want to take these jacked up hero flyer shots and like swell to the emotion, but that's a temptation. That's a bait. It's there because the platform is so tempting to do that. You want to be the hero, but you got to be steady. And this is like you're going to play 500 iterations of certain positions over the next 3 or 4 days. And you want to put your money in with the right smart percentage plays. And so if they just do that and take away some of these kind of like loose and overly attacking positions that don't pay off well if you were to do them 1,000 times, I think they'll be in better stead. So
especially in a race to 5.
especially
Yeah.
race to 5, you can't treat this like you have room to break and run 6. And a lot of them are so comfortable doing that in the long races that they forget this is a race to 3. This is a race to 5. This is the neck, and especially on their break, they have to defend their inning on their break. And so you got to stylistically treat it like if it's a 1-pocket match more than a 9-ball, even though you're playing rotation. Just have that mindset. If they just clamp down on every inning and really protect, I think they'll be, I mean, they're obviously world-class players and they can run out like anybody else can. And if they can get positions after the break, then that'll help them settle down. Last year, they weren't very treated kindly after the break, but I think they gave that too much importance and started kind of stewing themselves and getting negative because they weren't. But
that was their scapegoat last year. That was the one thing that you heard as soon as it was over.
But even with all those negative break opportunities, they had a chance to be.
They made mistakes.
So they just made loose mistakes, and I think that's really where this all comes down to, is those little areas.
I always say when you're playing a race to 5, play it in 2 sections. I always say to the guys, try and get to 3 first, because if you get to 3, you're the favorite.
Yeah.
So just play just little small targets. It helps, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, Albin comes to mind because I thought he was always great at that. Whether he was up 3-1 or he was down 3-1, like he always gave it the respect that it deserved, you know. And I loved his decision making and his execution. Like he didn't get too high on the moment or down on the moment, you know, and always played the right shot, so to speak. And so, super critical. I also feel like the Americans can be more emotional in those decisions and want to be the hero, and I get that because of the stage. Like to Raymond's point, you know, and so it's hard to like not bite. You know what I mean? Like, because the atmosphere in the arena and the moment, and you've seen it your whole life, right? Even when you're a kid playing basketball, you're counting down from 3, 2, 1, right? Wanting to shoot the game winner. And so it's that mentality to get out of where you got to play it properly throughout, you know, and you don't want to give them an inch. Mike, what say you after day number 1?
I'm going to go 2-2 and have no idea which 2 matches are which. It just seems like, you know, the couple of the matches will even themselves, and 2-2 would be, you know, a great way to go into day 2. I mean, if you're US, you'd love to be up 3-1, 4-0. You'd love to get out. But if US can get out of day 1, 2-2, I think you'd have to be happy with that. And then you lower, you know, day 2, you go in there and you try to establish, you know, you try to win the day. Now you're on an odd number of matches on the second day. You can win the day and get ahead.
Look, call me crazy, and you know I'm not a homer, but looking at that lineup, I think it massively values the Americans in the first day. I think it also sets themselves up in the long term as well. I'm going 3-1 for Team USA after day 1. I don't want to middle like you guys that don't want to go and you know put it one way or the other. So I'm going 3-1 in favor of the Americans. I think the only loss they get under their belt is probably the Sky match against Jason, because Jason's just a different animal. But it's going to be great to see. And for the record, the last time I picked the Americans winning on day number 1, I think they ended up losing like 4-0 or something. So it was not pretty at all. So, but this is what the Mosconi Cup is, and this is what it lends itself to. What do you got, Darren?
Yeah, I think it'd be won on day 3. I think day 3 is going to be the big day. Looking at the schedule, I think day 2 we've got 2 singles, so I'm guessing that's when Filler and probably David will play, and Fedor and Shane. So day 2 is going to be massive, just to try and get in decent position for day 3, and then I think day 3 is where one team will separate themselves. I think.
So you're saying that if
I think this is going to be won from the rookies and the Billy and Tyler. Those 4 guys are going to play a huge part in this Mosconi Cup.
Yeah, they probably will. It's interesting though that you say that day 3 is the critical day, but day 3 is when you would have Tyler and Billy playing singles.
Yeah, and they're going to play against Moritz and Pijus, I guess. That's what I'm thinking. And so yeah, it's going to be massive. Day 3 is going to be huge. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I do like Europe, but with this format, it definitely keeps it interesting, because those team matches, they're 50-50. So if USA just come out of those team matches 2-1 over the 3 days, I mean, that's huge. And then obviously the top guys do their job and Billy and Tyler chip in, then it's definitely game on.
What do you say, Ray? You look like you're stewing over there.
I just this happens last year. I think guy put himself up in first singles. I think he lost, and then it left us. I think with Billy playing a very, very, very big singles point way at the end because they just kept pushing it down the road, and then it matters more, you know. So it really puts the pressure on the top guys to win those consequential matches early, to absorb and kind of build insurance against that's why I like the idea of defending. If I'm Jason, I probably would have put Pegis up in my first singles, and I would have likely put Billy up there for Team USA. But you know, just because you know it's a singles and doubles tournament. So
I like that idea.
You're balancing out, you know, for your team who and where you want. But what I like about Billy is that he's got this big shot potential. He's got like a lot of like he's got a high point that he can get to, especially if the team's going well. And if he and he's been playing well and winning some good matches, and if he feels like he's got a chance to really gut somebody and take a big heavy point, I mean, he might have the bottle to do it, as the English like to say. So I think it'll be interesting. I think balance is important. You know, we don't want to front load, you know, and I like having the option to put, you know, one of our two guys, not necessarily having to put Shane and Federer up if you can. Maybe keep Federer for that day 3. Maybe put Shane and Tyler up tomorrow if they're in your singles. Again, it just depends on the tone and how things go day 1. A lot of these decisions get made in the practice room while the guys you're reacting to a living organism. The team is kind of, you know, in flux, and you got to take inventory of how they're feeling, who's playing how, kind of adapt. So, you know, we'll see how.
Yeah, but for me, the problem is that America's got to get off to a good start.
Sure.
They do,
That's why you have to top load. There's no doubt about it. If I was the captain of America, I'd be top loading as well.
Yeah.
I want to go for the knockout punch as quickly as possible, or at least be able to pepper them a little bit to keep some heat on them, because that's your only hope.
It's massive. It's massive. It's so important for America to get off.
Don't you play into Europe's hands then by basically telling them what you're going to do ahead of time?
Doesn't matter, does it? You just concentrate on your own game. I mean, Federer and Shane play their game. They can beat anybody in the world.
Yeah,
and obviously Skyler's capable on his day. So that's the mindset they've got to have. They've got to think, look, we're going to play Filler. We're going to play Jason. Let's bring it on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not going to win this cup by trying to play it against Pegis or Moritz. You've got to go out there and win it. You know what I mean?
And you don't want to go down not having played your best cards.
Yeah, it's like taking penalties at soccer, and you leave your best penalty taker till last. I mean, that's just and I've seen it. I'm thinking that to me is just suicide.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
What do you say, Mike?
No, I mean, just great stuff from Daz and Ray. They have great perspective on how this goes together. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and we hope that we're as on the fence on how we're thinking about it on day 2 and day 3 as we are now.
I can't believe you haven't travelled over.
Because we've had these years where
I cannot believe you haven't travelled over.
I give Keith Paradise a shot this year to go over there and enjoy the Mosconi Cup. And I sent him over once before, and it was the COVID year, and he had to interview Earl under the crack at the bottom of the hotel room door because he was sequestered. So he didn't get much.
Did he really?
He didn't get much out of that trip. So yeah.
Keith's a nice guy, so that's good.
Yeah.
What's the key to the Americans winning, Darren?
Like I said, I think they've got to go top heavy. And I know Raymond's not so sure, but I think they've got to go top heavy. They've got to have the right mindset. Got to embrace the crowd, and they've really got to go for it. But again, like Raymond says, play smart, play the percentages. Don't let the crowd get to them too much. Obviously, don't try and get too involved with Jason. And
no.
Yeah, they've just got to. I mean, Shane and Fedor, they've got to come with the energy. They've got to come with like the right attitude, and they've got to lead the way for the rest of the team. If they do that, they've definitely got a chance. There's no doubt about it. Because I mean, I've been against USA teams in the past, and when those guys have showed up, then obviously they've took us really close or they've beat us. So. Anything's possible. It's just going to be hard in London. That's the only thing. If this was in America, I'd be thinking this is a 50-50 match. So yeah, they can definitely win. It just depends how they get the matchups right and make sure they can handle the crowd really and the pressure of it all.
Mike, do you think that and I sent you earlier some of the ticket availability, and there's still a lot of tickets left for the first couple of days. Do you think that favors more the Americans than the Europeans?
Well, if the place is only 2/3 full, yeah, it definitely helped settle in a little more. But by the same token, Pius and Moritz won't feel the heat that they would feel with
Sure.
every seat taken screaming at the same time. So, I think that could go ways. I think it would take a little air out of Jason if it's not as crazy as he's hoping for, because he wants as amped up as possible. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow. But yeah, I think it would certainly make the U.S. a little more comfortable if it's not 2,200 screaming fans.
Why is it not sold out?
Not the first day, for sure.
Why?
It looked like it's maybe 60%.
Really?
Yeah.
That would look like you to Mike?
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me when I went to the website.
Wow,
it looked like the first 2 days still had a lot of availability left.
Yeah.
So the Friday I think was had a pretty good amount sold.
Yeah.
There were still
Well,
some tickets available.
the first 2 days are such a gamble because they're usually cutting matches out of the first days.
Sure.
So you see, they've already got the first day down to 4 matches. I should get a rebate on that. The third day is 6 matches. So
I thought like maybe a couple of 100 people or something. Yeah, I'm heading down in the morning.
Well, are you going to go, Darren?
Yeah, I head down in the morning for the first 2 days.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
It's about a 3-hour drive for me.
Well, we'd love to have you back on if you get some time for sure.
No
I think the first 2 days are obviously going to be super critical. And one thing, especially as a fan, that kind of sucks at times is that it seems over the last few years that it's been over before I even got like amped up for it to even get started. And so I want to see Federer and Shane stay involved. I want to see, guys go and put up fight. I want to see them some heart. And just stay engaged throughout. Like I've said, the Europeans are the better team. You can't go and deny it. But this whole talk of it's a race to 5, anything can happen. It's all true and well, but the Europeans I would trust more coming from behind than I would the Americans. And until they show otherwise, I'm just going to continue to go and believe that because that's where the smart money has been over the last few years. And yeah, it's proven.
For Fedor, is this his third? Is this his third Mosconi Cup for USA?
Fourth, I think. Oh, third, yeah, for USA, yeah. No, third for USA. Yeah.
So I mean, now he should be kicking on now, really. You know what I mean? He should be ready, really.
Yeah, you would think so.
I've heard he's been doing a lot behind the scenes with the team.
Yeah, that's that was an interesting. I was going to bring that up because that was an interesting comment they made today that Federer has taken more of his leadership role. And I sent the question in. And I was like, I wanted to know what is that? What did that mean? How has that manifested itself?
Yeah.
In a locker room. And I did get someone to ask Skyler for me about the different approach, and he said that Federer has taken over a lot of the practice schedule and planning.
Yeah, the structure.
Sky's saying that I'm not much of a practice player, so Federer's brought a lot more discipline to the practices that they've been going through and preparing. So in that sense, it seems like Federer has taken on some leadership role, and if it's more purposeful practice, then
he's like a playing captain.
Yeah, so that that would bode well for the U.S. because my big question was, is this team more prepared this year than last year, and if so, why? And the answer seems to be, well, it appears to be more prepared, and Federer's had a hand in making that happen.
Yeah, which is crazy, really. I mean, why they didn't do that in the past?
I think it's just not the American way. I feel like, and especially when you have a guy like Scott, who's notoriously not been a practice guy.
It's you need to. Everybody talks about. Well, Jeremy did that or tried to do that with him, but it's really it's not just let's do these VX all day long, things like that. It's having purpose to it, and that's something that I thought Johan was really good at, and things like that. But But if you're the underdog like the U.S. is, having that real good practice regimen preparation is a key thing because you need every edge you can. But is it the be all and end all of the world? No, not if you got the talent, because I don't think Team Asia spent 5%. I don't think Team Asia spent 7 minutes together in the last 2 years, and it didn't slow them up at all.
Yeah, I mean it's just little percentages, isn't it? But I've heard that Joshua Phil is absolutely flying in practice, so I'm excited to see him. But that's the reports I've been told the last couple of weeks, that he's flying.
No, I've expected Josh to be like, chomping at the bit. I mean, he can't wait to get out of the gate tomorrow. I guarantee it. So,
but at the same time, you've got to be careful, not be too hyped up, not be too.
Yeah. But I love seeing Josh when he's got a point to prove.
Yeah. Josh is. He doesn't get like off the handle hyped up. I don't think. I don't think I've ever seen him so. Because I've seen Jason there so hyped up that it's detrimental. I've met where I thought it hurt him.
Yeah, he composes himself very well.
Ray, hearing about the preparation and Federer kind of taking the reign, which I think they respect him, and that's the reason why they not let him, because he's taking that on. What does that do for your overall outlook and optimism for the Americans?
Obviously, Federer knows how to train. So, maybe as structured as anybody can be to get to the top, he's proven he can do that. So that's a benefit. I think more than that, I'm of the opinion that these results shake out of a good system. I think systems build outcomes and put you in best position to deliver when it matters most. I think Team Europe has the advantage when it comes to that this year because they've had 2 weeks and they haven't had to travel across the continent to get there. So it's good that Federer's been engaged in how to train with the guys, and they were spending time together here in Florida for the international not long ago. Sky made a really great run. He got to the semifinals and played just an unbelievable match against Yap. I mean, best player in the world at the moment in tournament play. He was right there with him double hill, so that's encouraging. But as far as the team dynamic goes, they were staying together, so that's good. They at least got a challenge match in, which I think is more valuable than anything, is combining these things together, spending time together, competing together, getting reps in. That all matters. So they got a challenge match in with some of the British guys, thanks to Dan Su at GB9, who's doing a great
spots
job.
On stripes.
Yeah. So they've done a great job even putting that together. I think it's a benefit to Team USA. I'm glad that they've done that, which is something they haven't done the last few years. So the fact that hasn't been done, it's all positive. It's all trending in the right direction. Now, as far as like preparing properly for something this big, I think you need, ideally you're working together for a month, getting together and getting really focused, really sharp. I know last time they were with Johan took them to Russia. They played Kremlin Cup. They played against the Russian team. They went to a Euro Tour. They competed there. Then they went to the UK. I think Daz, they played.
Yeah, played us, yeah.
And then they played the Mosconi and they ran them over. Well, they won, But that's the kind of effort you need consistently in a team setting to get the best out of yourself. And you need the best out of yourself to beat one of the best teams on the planet. So we'll see.
With that in mind, Ray, give me the score line for the Mosconi Cup when it's all said and done.
I'm an American. Wow, I'm an American fan, so I'm going to pick my guys. I'd love to see them win 11-8.
But you say that every year.
I know.
Yeah, we do. That's exactly what we do.
Change the score.
Every year.
Yeah. Last year I said 11.
I'll go 11-9.
11-9. There you go.
For who? You're going USA?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Daz?
Well, I was thinking 11-6, but I've changed my mind. I'm going to say 11-7.
We went on the record, me and Mike. we said 11-6 to start. The Federer thing, I'm going to give a little bit of an edge to, not by much. I'm giving them 11-7 now for the Europeans. I think they're too tough, too talented, too prepared, and they're too experienced out there. And I think it's going to go and show.
I want to know what Josh's potatoes taste like. That's really what I'm interested in seeing, because I want to see what his kitchen Fargo is and how it stacks up to his playing Fargo.
Save it
said
for
he
Derby,
made-
my man.
He said he,
Yeah.
he
Probably it's
said he
around.
made pasta
It's probably
bolognese.
600. I think he's okay with spag ball. It sounds of it.
Hey, listen, I'd love to have you guys back on. I want to try to do some pregame and postgame stuff. So let me know if you guys are available. I want to thank everyone for hanging out with us. We got a pretty good amount of people tuning in. So much appreciated there. Big shout out to all of our sponsors. Boys, I'm going to let you go because I'm in Dallas and I'm going to go and enjoy and go get a workout in. So thanks a lot for hanging out. We'll see you guys tomorrow and go enjoy the Mosconi Cup. Later, y'all.
Cheers, guys.